today we are celebrate the men across the world. Yes, men, you heard it correctly. Today's journey, we are going to celebrate you today, guys. Before we jump right into it, I just want to say a big welcome to all our viewers at home. Welcome to our panelists that I know them excited and them just want to get them points across and them just want to start the things them. Yes, we know. Also, we want to thank our sponsors for today. 1 second, guys. Flo is, of course, giving me a fight, so I don't know why. But back to thanking our sponsors. Ruffian Beard Care. That's right, man. Today is your day. Go out, go visit Ruffian Beard Care. Let them tell you about the good things them to take care of on a beard. JT Fitness, and of course, Get Ace Academics. We also want to thank our music creators as well as guys and to themselves talk about, one little main fact about you.
Sorry, Curtis, it broke up a while ago. What are you saying?
You guys are not hearing me?
It broke up a while ago. What were you saying?
Okay, we want you to introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. I'll go first. So good evening, everyone. My name is Roger Blackwood. I'm the Games Committee Chairperson for the Human Guild. One fact about myself. This is a bit hard as it is. I'm a avid football fan. I'm a supporter of Manchester City. I mean, it's generic, but yeah, that's a fact about me.
Good evening, everyone, and I'm Jackie Brown. I am the Western Jamaica Campus Guild Council Chairwoman, and I'm here to just contribute to the conversation. One fact about me is that I love rabbits.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Britannia Bryan. Happy International Women's Day. And I am the project manager. I'm a project manager on the External Affairs Committee for the Humanities and Education faculty. A fun fact about me is that I am an avid movie watcher. I love movies and I love TV shows and I love to analyze and break them down.
You're next, Patrick. You want me to go first? All right. So greetings, everybody. The name is Shakir Ramsey, leader of the Fraternity of I on Chancellor Hall. And an interesting fact about me, I'm a born-again Christian.
Kudos to you.
I will go next. Greetings, everybody. My name is Patrick Watson. I'm a man of many hats. I am the sponsorship coordinator for the External Affairs Committee. I am the Deputy Commuting Students Chairperson. I am also the Vice President of Projects for the Faculty of Social Sciences. But today I come to you as the President and Founder of the Gentlemen's Association of Jamaica. One fact about myself, somebody went with football and born again Christian already. So let's see if I can bring something interesting and new to the table. Yes, I am aspiring to be one of the first Jamaican-born and bred conglomerate owners. So I wish to own and operate my own group of businesses in the future. So yeah, that's one interesting fact about me.
Okay, thank you guys. And it's only right that I, the host, introduce myself. My name is Coretta McNabb, I am the Vice President for Properties and Special Initiatives here at the University of the West Indies, Mona, Western Jamaica campus, the Happier campus. One fun fact about me, I love to host. That should be cliche, but yeah, I love to host. And this conversation, I think, is one that is needed because oftentimes we neglect. I don't think it's intentional, but we do neglect our men. We do exclude them from certain conversations. So today we are here to appreciate them and talk about the things that are not talked about. I know men in today's society are expected to be strong. Men are not expected to be emotional. They're expected to tough it out in Jamaican terms. So before we begin, this discussion is brought to you today by the UMONA External Affairs Committee and the Faculty of Humanities and Education's EAC. And yes, guys, Faculty of Humanities and Education, the best faculty at the University of the West Indies, and that is not to question. So before we jump into it, guys, and I want to start with you, Patrick, because you said that you're what, the founder of Gentlemen's something. I want you to tell me what International Men's Day means to you and how important it is or important it was for you to come here and have this discussion with us today.
All right, thank you for that. For me, International Men's Day is a big thing. So, as president and founder of the Gentlemen's Association of Jamaica, what we are focused on is holistic male development. We are trying, for want of a better term, to change the societal mindset of what it means to be a man and reshape that into what it means to be a gentleman via the virtues, characteristics of being a gentleman, and so forth. So, International Men's Day for me is two parts: a celebration of men, right? All that they have contributed to society, all that we have done for society, and just a chance to give back and say thank you, men, for all that you have done. But at the same time, it's a time for reflection and a time for introspection because we want to say, all right, men, your roles have changed so drastically over the years. How are you continuing to be men as we move forward in today's society? So for me, that is what International Men's Day is about. It's a time for celebration, but it's also a time for reflection and introspection. Discussions like these, I believe they are absolutely paramount. They're necessary because you get to experience the mind of a man, not only his desires and his wants, but why he thinks the way he thinks, how he thinks the way he thinks, what affected him in his life growing up that alters his mindset and his thinking. So discussions like these help men see that it's okay to express, and it gives our female counterparts that the insight into the mind of a man, so that they in and of themselves can understand us a little better, and that we as men can develop further. So for me, that is what International Men's Day is about, what it means to me, and what this presentation is for, what the importance of it.
Thank you very much. And Shaneke, the question is also for you.
Thank you, Curta. I am just adding to what Mr. Patrick Watson had said, because he couldn't have said it any better, right? I wanted to take part in this because I believe a lot of misconception is there, even surrounding the theme that we have today regarding toxic masculinity, where they just associate that to any macho behavior of the men, and I believe that is not right, and that is not so. So in clarifying this and to hear from the men's perspective, since we have here men on the panelists, that is the reason why I wanted to take a part of the conversation to help clear up some of these facts. And yes, today is a day to celebrate the men, all that they are, and I'm just happy to be here as a part of the panel and to the discussion.
Thanks, Shanaki. Noted, noted. And before we jump into it, guys, I just want to share, just a little one line about International Men's Day. Now, it is marked to focus on the health and well-being of men, to promote and encourage positive male role models, and to celebrate the positive contributions of men towards society. The day is also marked to focus on discrimination against men and to promote gender equality by creating a better and safer place for everyone. So it's not about saying to the men, okay, guess what? Today is not about you. But today we want to tell them that we recognize you and we are celebrating you today. Now, our first prompt, our first statement is, I had a clear idea of manhood growing up. Shaquille, care to share some insights?
All right, so you're going in and out, corrector, but I'll just pick up from the last thing I heard. For me, interestingly, I grew up in a household of all females. It was my mother, my older sister, and my older cousin who was also a female. And then to add injury, to add further injury to it, my mother was overprotective when I was a child. So I was sent to a prep school. And one of them prep school that you're pampered. So there was no male figure in the house. And all the teachers at the prep school that I would have been in their classes would have been females. So the male figure would come about when I'm at church or when I'm at home in the community, and you'll have like the barber whose barber shop was across from the house, and some other guys who just live in the community, and they just look out for me because you're young and you're brilliant, so them say you're a good youth. This would have been one of the reasons why, when I was older, I also decided that I wanted to board or to dorm on Chancellor Hall, because there are some things that I still wouldn't have learned in comparison to another guy who would grow up with a father figure or uncle close by. And despite the misconceptions out there, I can tell you that it has been beneficial. So to be frank, it is very important for men to socialize with men. There are some things you can only learn from being around fellow males, just as though there are some things females can only learn from being around females. So we learn from each other. The Bible would even say iron sharpens iron. So just being around fellow men, you're going to get insight. They share their experience and you learn from their experience. So it's not every mistake you need to make. Sometimes you can hear some mistakes and see some mistakes and learn from. So that's it for me.
Right. So before we go any further, folks, we want to make sure that if you're just joining, that you understand the layout of this program. So our panelists here come from all different perspectives, and we'll be continuing with prompts. So it's not a regular panel discussion where we will be asking you questions, but we will make a statement, a definitive statement. All of the panelists who agree will indicate whether or not they agree, and those who agree first will be able to speak. All those who disagree with said prompt will then indicate why they disagree. Now, it's going to get a little bit controversial on some of the points, but of course, we have to get to the foundational roots. So the first prompt that you heard earlier from our host, Coretto, was, I had a clear idea of manhood growing up. You just heard from Shaquille Ramsey, and you'll be hearing from other persons who also agree with this prompt. Again, the prompt is, I had a clear idea of manhood growing up. Over to you, Coretto.
Thanks, Noeli. So among the panelists, guys, is there anyone else that agrees with the prompt? I had a clear idea of manhood growing up.
I agree. I grew up with my older brother in the house. I did not have my father living with me, but my older brother is a couple years older than me, and he played a father figure to me and my smaller cousins. And I was taught how a man should treat young ladies and how they should treat general people. And also my father, he didn't grow in the house with me. He wasn't there in the house, but he financially provided for me. And he always said a man should take care of his children. It doesn't matter what, a man should take care of his children. And my father teaching me that allows me to can be able to detect, you know, good men from bad men. Men, and just by the way how some men speak, you can tell if they would take care of their children or not. Because some men straight up tell me that, if they want. But yeah, so by the how they speak, you can tell if they're stand-up guy. And yeah, so I had a clear understanding of what true manhood is. And my older brother also introduced God to me. He introduced God to all of my cousins, and we grew up in the church because of my brother. So yeah.
Thanks, Tanya. Thanks, Britannia. I see your comment there, Patrick, but we're going to ask Shania K, is it that you agree or disagree? I'm not seeing anything from you. All right, so while we allow Shania K to decide whether she agrees or disagree. Patrick, you said that you disagree. Go ahead.
All right. Yes, I disagree, but here's why I disagree. It's not a flat out no, I did not have a clear idea. But to me, manhood was presented in multiple spheres. So a little bit of background. I grew up primarily when I grew up most of my childhood. Firstly, we were in Portmore. Now, most of you guys are in Greater Portmore at that. So I don't know how the house them stay, the house them kind of join on together. So you had male figures around me at a time, and they presented one aspect of what they thought manhood was. Them get up a morning time, sweet yard, them not really go work, but them sit on a corner and them crush out them and nickel and them go drink a rum and them things and they felt as if they were men, right? Um Fast forward a little bit now, I spent some time in Grand Spen, Charlotte, that area. So I was then exposed further to the inner city. So the violence, the not so prim and proper behavior as you see, as I demonstrate now. So I was exposed to that as well. But similar to Shaquille, I had very strong female presence in my life. So my mother is a big part of my life, right? And she was always there, always in some aspect contributing to my ideals, to my behaviors, to my thought patterns, all of those things. So to my aunts and them things there. But don't get it confused. Why I said I have multiple of what it means to be a man is throughout all of these changing points in my time, I was blessed, and I call it a blessing because I don't take it for granted that some persons don't have this. But I had a strong father figure in my life. My father was there at every point in my life, and some persons always used to ask me, why do I think my father is such a great father? First and foremost, because he's always there. I know I can always count on my father. So he presented to me stability, he presented a provider, security, all of those different things. But at the same time, based on the society and my upbringing, I went to prep school and I went to Ireland. And based on where I was and the friends I had from different backgrounds, you nitpick, and there are aspects of manhood that come from this person. I said, that's good. And I like that and I want to exemplify that. But there are some parts of it that I'm not so agreeant on. I don't really fully agree with. But then you come over here, so, and then your father will
Right.
show you things. And then so there was a plethora of conflicting views, right? So what happened is that I didn't have one set view of what it meant to be a man, but there were a lot of contributing factors. And I think that's really why I disagree as to one clear definition of manhood.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks to you all. Thanks. Very informative, I may say. So the next statement or prompt is, and I know this one is going to rattle some of you guys. Men are the rightful leaders of the household. Anyone agrees?
I do agree with the statement, Parita. So here's why I agree. From a biblical standpoint, men were the leaders of the household. They will provide and all of that. And I know that, yes, the roles have changed, but they still have the dominance as it relates to, biblical
I think we lost Shanake. Roger, I see that your hand is also up for agreeing with the prompt. The prompt is, men are the rightful leaders of the household. Panelists, back to you, Roger.
Well, I wasn't really agreeing with the prompt.
You're disagreeing?
Yeah, I disagree with the prompt.
So let's hold on that, and I think Shanake is back. So Shanake.
Yes, I am back. I was receiving a call. My apologies. I'm using my phone and I had to just stop the call. Yes, I was saying from a biblical standpoint, I know that the rules for men have changed, but this is something I still believe in, right? Physically as well, we can see that the men have the physical body and, to lead us. I know that their roles have significantly changed right now, but I believe they are the rightful owners and the rightful leaders as it relates to biblical. And this is what I stand with, right? Because I am an aspiring Christian, and this is what I want to believe.
All right, I see.
Thank you.
I see Shakil.
Thank you for that, Shanake. Go ahead, Shakil. Do you?
All right, so thank you. I agree from a biblical standpoint, and also just from being practical. The reality is that I think what persons get wrong each time we have a conversation like this is that we're looking at leader, and there's a term that I'm trying to find. So as a leader, you take into consideration the opinions of the partner. So the wife would also play a very important part in the household. So it's not a situation where it's just the men. But persons look at it from the standpoint that if you say that men are the rightful leaders of a household, it means that the buck stops with the men. Not necessarily, but the truth to everything is that women are expected to be the compassionate one in the family. If you have a cut, if a child has a cut, the first person the child is going to run to is mommy, because mommy are going to maybe kiss it, put on the band-aid and what have you. But daddy, before daddy even do all of that, daddy might tell her, yeah man, but he tell us, I go out there, see you go out there, go drop. Men usually have this kind of thing where they just demonstrate it. I think it comes naturally, and I think that's the way God designed it. So I don't think there should even be much of a debate around it. But yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you, Shakil. Patrick, I see you typing in the chat. Go ahead. Men are the rightful leaders of the household. So let's talk about the things then, Patrick. What you say? Yes, a man to lead the household or not? Tell me.
I think so. Yes, but Shakira started to touch on it, and I agree. And most persons have said it from a biblical point of view. And the man is the head of the household, all of that. But what do we really mean when we say leaders? Does it mean that you're a dictator and you have the final say and everything is yours? And you no, there are different types of leaders. Usually there's charismatic leaders, all them little things there. But what I think it means when we say men should be the leaders is that it is a man's duty to step to the forefront and to demonstrate that sense of willingness to do for his family. And to me, it's being a leader just means taking charge and taking responsibility. No, that does not mean women don't have responsibility, but there is always a balance in every relationship and in every household. So for me, yes, there's a biblical point of view, but when you look at what it means to be a leader, who is it that should take charge in this household? If somebody comes to the gate at a house, everybody is in the house. It is my belief that is the man should go answer the door. Simply because you have women and children inside, you step forward and you are that figure that says, yes, how may I assist? So things like that, when you look at it from that point of view, I believe men should be the leaders. As I said, leadership in the sense of stepping up, taking charge, taking responsibility for the family. That should be a man's job.
All right, so Britannia, do you disagree with the prompt? Are men rightful leaders of the household?
Yes, I disagree with the prompt. I am a Christian as well, but I'm not a typical Christian, but I do believe in God and all of that. I believe that women and men lead in different ways. So we're not all going to lead the same. Men's gonna take all the leadership right across the board. No, men and women lead in different ways, and therefore I think that we men and women should be equals in the household, leading equally. A man should consult his wife for every decision that he's going to make. I believe a man should consult his wife or girlfriend. And for every decision a woman is going to make, she should consult her husband or boyfriend or girlfriend if they are of that. So yes, I believe that they should share the household responsibilities and leadership equally, and they can take on different responsibilities. So the wife is good at this, financial aspects of the home, then she takes on that aspect of the home. But if she makes more money, that's okay. So she's a provider for the home, and the man will be a protector for the home. It doesn't matter what they decide to split, they are equals in the home. That's my belief.
All right, I don't think I'm seeing our host, Curto. So, ladies and gentlemen on the panel, I have to ask you this to rock the boat just a little bit, because I realize even in Britannia's disagreement, she found somewhere to agree with you. So I have to ask, and I really want, no, I won't give Britannia this just right now. Let's give her a breather since she just responded. But I'm going to ask, do you think women, yes, women, have more privileges today than men? Not for you, Britannia, just yet, because you just responded, but I'm gonna have to ask. I see Roger Blackwood smirking over there, so I think he has a response for us. Roger, do you like to indicate whether or not you agree with this? All those who agree with this prompt first.
Just to be clear.
Women, pardon?
Yeah, repeat the prompt, please.
Repeat the prompt. The prompt is, do women today have more privileges than men?
Before Roger even answer, let's clarify something for me before we lose our heads and before nobody start chop with.
Okay, fair enough.
What do you mean by privileges? Clarify
Yes,
that for me.
Patrick, please.
I can't further expound on the prompt. That's the rule of how this show works. We're going to say only one prompt, and whether or not you agree or disagree. So all of you who agree,
I
wholeheartedly.
disagree.
All right, hold on. I have to. Okay. I
agree.
hear the agrees. Was that from you, Patrick?
No, man,
give me 1 second while I Google what privileges are and then come back to you. But
okay, that's fair enough.
I'll answer
Roger.
what I believe the privileges are. So, women in society now, I would say they'd have a bit more privilege. Not barring that they are more vulnerable in society now due to the climate of society in regards to what they are facing in terms of sexual harassment and all that. They are more vulnerable in that aspect, but in terms of privileges now, a woman has, and this is just my opinion, so for anybody that would maybe find this a bit controversial, I'm sorry. But in my opinion, I believe that woman can say certain things or behave in a certain way towards men, but man cannot be vice versa. For instance, the whole hate man men are trash campaign. I understand the reason how the campaign started, the whole men are trash thing, and it's not a generalized statement according to what I've heard. But it's a case where it can rub someone else the wrong way. And the whole generalization that all men are this, all men are that, it actually rubs me the wrong way. And women are allowed to, or they can say all of this, man of this, man of that, man of crasses, man of whatever, man of this. Disrespect me to the utmost. And I've experienced it myself. But a man now even makes a comment about a preference. It's a problem. Like for instance, women don't like someone who have belly, like I'm myself, or they don't like sharp people, or they don't like people to dark skin, to brown skin, etc., etc. That's a preference for them. A man has a preference, it becomes body shaming. If I don't like somebody that's a bit too skinny, if I don't like somebody that's a bit too big, it's body shaming. So certain things like that in terms of opinions, I believe that women have a certain level of privilege over men. It may be something small, but that's where I see the privileges happening.
Okay, it's our job as any of the hosts that you see on this platform to remain neutral. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So Patrick, you had some time to think about it. I think you want to say agree, but don't let me put words in your mouth. Let me know. Do you agree?
I agree on technicality.
Okay, he agrees. Continue.
I agree on technicality. Here's the technicality, right? I believe women are given more consideration than men in society. Here's why I make that distinction. When you consider, for instance, when you're dealing with the sick, for argument, in a hospital and you're going to triage, the first thing you do is treat women and children. Then you treat the elderly, then you treat men. So things like that, to me, certain considerations are given more to women. There are certain aspects of our human rights that, in for want of a better term, women get the precedence of it, especially now with certain movements that are going on, with certain movements that are going on. But it's tricky, and I take it even to a more relatable sense of persons in this age group. Name one time that you've seen a party advertised and it said 2 for 1 men. for the comedy purpose of it, you've never seen it. But the consideration given to women in certain things, women get discounts to go certain places, men won't get that. as Roger was saying, women are free to voice certain opinions and certain dislikes publicly. But if a man was to do the same thing, he is being sexist and misogynistic and all of those other things. So there are certain considerations given to women that are not given to men. And before anybody tries to chop my head off, yes, there are considerations given to men that are not given to women. I can't think of all of them right now off the top of my head because I was thinking about the privileges thing. But I strongly believe that there are some preferences and there are some considerations that women get in society that men will never get. And that is the stance I take.
I hear you. I hear you. Even though it seems as if you want to skirt around just a little bit, I need to hear, is there anyone else who agrees with this prompt before we move into the persons who disagree?
You know, I had disagreed, but they had changed my answer. And I want to share why I had previously disagreed and why I now agree with the statement. No,
Okay.
basically, right? Women are more likely to be discriminated in the workplace, you know. Also, where they wage discrimination, sex discrimination, just the same way, and overall, all of these affect the whole quality of the life of a woman. But for women, but here the two fine young men spoke this afternoon. I can't deny the fact that yes, indeed, in terms of us voicing our opinions, more consideration, we do in fact get that, right? And as it relates to what he had said, for instance, look on Titanic, right? When the boat did a sink, who them say to go on the boat? It was the women and children, really. So really and truly, they have changed my answer. So yeah.
If I may just interject, it's in those situations I don't have a problem really with women getting the preference because why women are the caregivers first of all in those situations. Women are going to be the better caregivers in situations like that. And second of all, a woman can reproduce. So in the case I emergencies that mean that somebody needs to be tended to first. I mean, they should get the preference because they can reproduce and they can be the primary caregivers. That's just something that men are not really
But
going to
but
do.
with Jay,
But
with Jay, if I can ask, can women reproduce without a man though? So you're
no,
saying that the man should sacrifice himself? She
no,
can't reproduce by herself. So
no. I mean,
I think we should
that
try
is
to fit
true.
both of.
That is
I think we should try to
true.
fit both the man and the woman on the boat. I don't think
I
there
mean,
should be a preference.
a man more likely to survive either way as well. Understand that is me still. Remember.
That is true. Men have more survival. But for me,
I can't swim. I can't swim. So if I'm not on that boat, me I go drown. So how will I survive? Me on the boat with the woman. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that.
Mega second. Come on. Shanake said something just now, and every time I hear it, I always want just attack it, especially with the whole work. Yes, women are discriminated against more, and that is a fact. But society, and this may have changed over the years, society places greater expectation on men than women. Men are expected to succeed. Men are expected to do well. So yeah, think about it. Think about it. And when it's either hit or miss with men. It's either you're expected to be running the company and owning the company, or you're not doing nothing in your waste, man. And then you also spoke about the whole disparity in wages and them things there. What about the disparity in sick leave and maternity leave and them things there? Because when I'll even speak from experience at the company that I work right now, women are given 3 months sick leave, 3 months maternity leave. Men are given 1 week paternity leave. No, I understand that women are the actual ones bearing the child, but when my wife is at home sick and vomiting and all sort of things going wrong with them, me not focus on my work. My productivity I got dropped. So it kind of a little bit unfair to
no,
me.
but
With
one
my
would say that's a
wife.
privilege of men. one would say that's a privilege of men not being able to be there, because a lot of men do not want to be in those spaces. I understand, yes, that they're family and those stuff, but yes, one can argue that, it's a privilege for man not to have it, because them want to, go work, same and all these things, and that's not a space that they want to, be in, because they're not the original caregiver. I think that can be argued to both ways.
I can agree that can be argued. I can agree to that. I see some
I
other
want to
people
butt
raising their
in.
hands, and I know Noel have some other things to say. So mega
Right.
I want to butt in on the reason why I disagree with the prompt.
Go ahead, Britannia, then we're going to have to move to the next prompt.
I disagree with the prompt. I believe that men and women equally have their privileges in society. And I know I'm kind of just like on the equal spectrum about this whole topic, but I do believe that with the whole men are society places a greater expectancy on men and pressure on men. I feel like, yes, men are expected to do well, make the money at a certain age, but I also think that there's pressure on women for different things. For example, to get married at a certain age, to have children at a certain age, and even if we have one child, it's not good enough. We need to have more than one child before a certain age, and we can't be too old. And women are more likely to be abducted, to sell into sex slavery or whatever the case might be. Women are more likely to get raped. Women are more likely to be harmed and harassed. So we men do have their privileges where, men can have children at any age. There's no pressure there. Men can get married and settle down at any age. If men are out here wilding, if men are out here being promiscuous, it is seen as they are, them are galleys, them are the man, them are this, them are that. Women cannot be out here, going with many partners and not being discriminated against, not being slut shamed. So I believe that we do have equal privileges in this society, yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Britannia. We would love to, sit and have this discussion for the entire night, but in the space of time, we have to, pause it and let everyone gather their thoughts. And
You're muted, Carter.
Ooh, maybe I'm not used to this whole technology. I wish COVID would go away already. But as I was saying, guys, we would like to have this discussion for the entire night, but we just cannot, and we must move on. We do have a giveaway that is courtesy of Get Ace Academic Services. And the question for the giveaway is, what is the international theme for Men's Day? So just drop it in the chat, and the first to answer will get a prize from Get Ace Academic Services.
Let's repeat that for them one more time.
And just to repeat, guys, we have a giveaway from one of our sponsors, Get Ace Academic Services. And the question for the giveaway is, what is the international theme for Men's Day? So again, the question is, what is the international theme for Men's Day?
Who is monitoring over YouTube? Because I'm seeing someone there is answering. You're muted again.
Do we have an answer?
Men in the middle, I see.
No. Not men in the middle.
Someone says better relations between men and women.
Yes, that would be the answer.
All right, let me look if someone had said that before I go ahead and say.
Go ahead,
Well,
Shanice.
Nishay
I have to
Johnson too.
hear.
Nishay Johnson relations between men and women. And we're going to contact you, Nishay, on how you can get your prize. Congratulations, of course. So, guys, the discussion is getting heated. Yes, and we just want to go ahead and interact with our audience. So, we're planning this in the meantime. We're going to jump over to the YouTube page to see about the discussion. Guys, are you enjoying the discussion? First, no. Are you enjoying? Is there anything you'd like to add to the discussion?
Okay, Carita is still breaking up for me a bit. So before we go into the audience, we're going to bring on the next prompt. I see that the man is in the house, Mr. Fabian Morris. We're going to get to him shortly, but our panelists, get ready for this prompt. I need to ask you, all of you who agree with this prompt, let's be honest here. Do you think, not do you think, let's make it a statement, male underachievement is a sign that the education system has failed our boys? Let's be honest, think about it. Panelists, all of you who agree with this prompt, let us know right now. Male underachievement, is it a sign that our education system has failed our boys?
Oh, no, Ellie, I wish I was on the panelist discussion for tonight, but nevertheless, I believe in our panelists for tonight.
I see Britannia. Britannia agrees with the prompt. Britannia, the floor is yours.
I agree with this prompt a whole lot because you know what? I believe the education system failed a lot of people, both men and women, girls and boys, because society is changing. It's an ever-changing thing, and the world is at a different place and a new place every time. And the one thing that is constant in this ever-changing world is the school system. That does not make sense. Something needs to be done to change the school system because we cannot operate in the same learning system in a world of the 17th century, in a new world. The same education system back then is the same education system we're using in the 21st century, when we have technology and all these new jobs and new culture and things of the world that they didn't have back then. That doesn't make sense to me. I feel like it's not for everybody. There is no genuine learning going on for a lot of people. It's just memorizing topics for exam, and you do the exam, and right after the exam, most thing goes away, and it's just not genuine learning going on. And for women tend to remember things more. That's the reason why women tend to achieve more in school, because they remember things more, and men can attest to this in relationships. We have a good memory. So yes, they remember things more, so therefore we pass exams more than men. And the education system is just not for everybody, and it's failing a lot of people. And I don't know what we can do about it. What I do know is that the way we learn, the way we evaluate learning needs to change, because there's not genuine learning going on. There's just a memorizing competition that's going on, basically.
Thanks, Britannia. Patrick, your hand is up. Do you agree with the statement?
I feel like, just like how Britannia is the balance advocate and the equality advocate, and the technicality advocate. I had to think about it very, very hard, and I had to really think about it. But male underachievement is a sign that the education system has failed. Take out the male. Underachievement is a symbol that the education system has failed. Here's my reason. It's similar to Britannia. How we learn
Oh my
is
God.
different from each person, is different person to person. But the system in which we learn, it's similar to mass production assembly line. Put all of the information in front of people. Who get it, who don't get it, get left. That's what the education system looks like right now. There is no individualistic approach to education. And the individualistic approach to education where it costs you a bag of money for go look tutor and extra lesson and all of them things there. So in terms of the education system, a lot of people fall by the wayside. One, because the classroom thing is not for everybody. There are some people who are gifted and brilliant from a practical sense, but they could never write it down. And that may be because of how we standardize our test taking. I can understand that from some areas you probably need to be able to write it down and whatever. But there's a quote that I saw and somebody made it into a TikTok video, but I still find it very relevant. It's this. In school, you learn a lesson, then you get a test. In life, you get a test, then you learn a lesson. So there's a disparity between the real world and what we're taught. Because even when you're in school and you're going to university, you're going to UA, UTech, CMU, wherever you're going, because you have to be conscious of the other person listening to this broadcast right now. But they even tell you when you go out into the real world, it's probably not going to be what you learned here. So then why may I learn it this way? What is the purpose of this? You have some people that would go school for all 5 years, go do a degree, go end up a call center. You have some people who have bachelors in accounting, bachelors in psychology, masters in this, and them can't get a job because there are some practical skills that they probably didn't learn, or because the job market is so flooded. So the education system doesn't allow for individualized approach to learning, which I think is what is needed in some cases. But the cost to do all of that and the resources to do all of that is not there. So you do things on a mass basis. And as I say, who get it, who don't get it, you kind of get knocked. So that's my take on the situation.
So you touch on a number of things that I wanted to actually speak on. Experts would have said, psychologists would have proven, right, that males learn different from females, right? And as though you rightly said, right, there is a one set system and nothing designed specifically for the male. For instance, they will always also tell you that women or girls learn faster than men, right? And that's how you will see the disparity based on attention, or you grab the attention, because you'll see more women in the classroom. Sometimes they guide them out the door, they play, go in a bathroom, and all these things when they're to be in the classroom. And there's no specific curriculum that have been designed to actually capture our men and our boys and our males in the classroom. So I share the same sentiments, right? We also have to look at not only the educational system, but where the boys are socialized. Whereas the families spend more time with girls than they do with boys. So while you're not call a girl and say, come with me, help you with the schoolwork and so more often than not, we will see, the boys, they're ball grown and them get more free time than how the girls would have done. So I cannot speak concretely on how the educational system has failed the boys, but another aspect too, if men were seeing more males in the classroom, I think that would have a direct impact because they would be better able to relate to them. because we are the educational system is dominated by women, or let's just say more women are there. So I think, in all of that, those things could have aided a different curriculum and all of that.
Thanks, Shanaki. And Shakil, your hand is up, and it seems as if you're eager to get your point across. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you. This is something that's personal for me. For those who know me personally, growing up, I had behavioral issues, I had learning issues. It wasn't because I was dunce or couldn't learn, but it's because I learned differently. And I wouldn't say I agree with the prompt, because I would have seen the efforts of numerous educators and school administrators who would have tried almost everything. But there sometimes you just have to accept that there are some underlying issues that some students have. And we send them to school with these issues and these problems, and the teachers, they just aren't equipped. So I think there should be a charge to parents to accept the realities of their children and accept that, listen, and every picnic I got bright and every picnic can do this. So the fact that I know that, listen, my child learns differently, let me find how best I can ensure that when he's an adult, he's not left behind. If you tell some parents, if you be practical and blunt with them and tell them, so listen, your child has a learning disability, them cuss you off. And then tell us, say, I call them pick the dunce and so forth. When in fact, you're just trying to educate them for them to take different steps. Maybe withdraw them from the school, send them to the school. You get me? Because it's there. The institutions are there. I think maybe what government can do, or society, we can just provide proper funding so that they're less expensive. But what I think is actually causing this level of underachievement is not because the education system is failing, but I think it's because education overall is not seen as a major achievement in this country. Because I can have two masters and a PhD, and a man without a degree can get a job over me because of who he knows, or because of who he's related to, or because of how much money he have in a bank account. That's the main problem. I think the main problem right now is corruption. It's not education. We have a lot of success stories coming out of Jamaica. Where are they now? Either them gone overseas, or them have to find some other creative way to make it, because them not have certain links, them not have certain connections, or they're only called upon by political parties when it's election time, and a party will make it look like we are listening to the technocrats. That's the problem. Corruption is the underlying problem. It's not our education system. We have a good education system. Are there deficiencies? Yes, they are. But the reality is that everything just rests with how the country is run. That's just the reality.
All right, Roger, would you like to respond to that prompt as well?
Honestly, in regards to the prompt, I believe that it's kind of 50-50 for me. Because while I went to the education system, I wouldn't say it's set up in a way where it facilitates male underachievement. I would also say it has something to do with the males themselves not having the zeal. It's a 50-50 for me. Because at school, whether at the primary, secondary, tertiary level, right? It's a case where learning styles, I think Patrick could have mentioned learning styles. The learning styles are a bit different for males compared to females. Males are more tactile. A lot of my friends that I know that are males are tactile learners. They have to see the thing being done, have to have their hands being moving, have to get into the activities themselves. A lot of things that happens at school is a very theoretical aspect. You know what I'm saying? So like you go to a class, it's more of hypothetical situations, what may happen, what may not happen, etc., etc., etc. It's really a case where you get put into a situation to exercise the same things that you learn in class, and as Patrick rightly said as well, you get taught something then you receive a test. But in life, you get tested and you learn something. So it's a case where I just feel that for men, it's going to be harder for them to adjust to an educational system like this. But I wouldn't say it's a case where the educational system is responsible for male underachievement. I just think it's a case where it's gonna have its pros and cons. And we just need to, as men, learn to adapt and adjust and find the best of the educational system for us.
Let me know if it is possible for me to comment. I'd like to know if it is possible.
Thanks for that statement, Roger. And with that being the next statement or the next prompt, toxic femininity is worse than toxic masculinity. So worse than toxic masculinity. What that is saying? Or
Did you
would
hear
you
the
say
prompt?
that male, female are
All right, so Carter is breaking up for us again. I'm repeating the prompt, and the prompt is toxic femininity is worse than toxic masculinity. We're throwing out that one more time. Toxic femininity is worse than toxic masculinity. Now, I know that Fabian is a host, but if it's okay, I want to ask him to respond to this one, whether or not he agrees with this one.
I'd like to hear from the people first, and then I can give my comments. If you're hearing me, guys, let me know if you're hearing me. I'm having a bit
Right,
of
we're
trouble
hearing
with my-
you.
All right, so greetings and salutations to everyone that is here today. But I'd love to hear from my counterparts before I am to take this on, because I talk a little bit long. So I'd like to hear from my counterparts first, their ideologies before I am to comment.
All right,
Any one
ladies
of
and
them can.
gentlemen.
Any one of them can.
Fabian. Shaquille is saying that he agrees.
Hey, go again.
You want to just repeat the question? Because I saw your hand up.
Oh, I'm responding to it.
Yes.
Why I agree is because I don't know. I have to get personal now. I'm wearing a Chancellor polo, and being a Chancellor on campus, we keep hearing that we're toxic and we promote toxic masculinity. But I think the conversation that we need to have, what is toxic masculinity? Because some of the things that we do as Chancellorites, I just think it's just comedy and just brotherhood. But for some people, they consider it to be toxic masculinity. Why? For when it comes down to the feminine part of it, no, they have females who just push this agenda. Hate man are wicked, man are dog, what have you. You won't find us saying these things. It's just maybe a case where they're going to say we have multiple sexual partners. Because I have to be honest, we have multiple sexual partners, or we push this agenda, say man could be tough and so forth. But the reality is females have multiple sexual partners. But when they do, you hear that they are strong, they are brave. If a female should post a pic with her in a bath suit, a bikini, and it looked good and everything, the comments on it would be like, yes, a nude. Let's say if you're a nude pic, she's brave. She's doing this, oh my God. But if a guy should do it, he's a pervert. It's nasty. It's a bit too much. So there are a lot of, I think the perspectives, it comes from a point where females is saying this, males are saying this, and then you have some males who join the females bandwagon because they just want to be pro-females. They're not looking at the facts behind it or the arguments behind it. So for me, I think the conversation just needs to be, what is toxic masculinity? Let's have a definition that we can work with moving forward. That's where I think we need to start.
I see Shaneke
next
smiling
Thanks.
over.
Yes, Shaneke is smiling. Knowing Shaneke, I know she has something interesting to get across. But I also see Patrick's and is up. So Patrick, do you agree with this statement? Because I'm assuming that Shaneke disagrees with the statement. So Patrick, do you agree?
Here's why I
Patrick,
agree.
make sure you say your point come across, because Shaneke, they go coming now. Shaneke is coming. All right.
As I said previously, we were able to change Shanake's mind. So let me see if I can shed some light and see if we can do that once more. Here is my problem with the statement, and here's why I agree. Toxic femininity isn't spoken about. Everywhere you turn for the past year, toxic masculinity, red flags with males, woman doing a relationship, man are garbage, man are trash, and you hear it, right? I've not seen the discussion, I've not heard the discussion about toxic femininity. No, Shaquille wanted some definitions. So I was privy to be part of a discussion that focused on toxic masculinity previously. And the notion of toxic masculinity is not that you're saying men in and of themselves or masculinity in and of itself is toxic. However, there are some aspects and notions of masculinity that people view as toxic. Now, some things that came up in that is the whole aggression that males show, the whole issue of machismo, lacking emotional intelligence, poor communication skills, promiscuity, stuff like that. That is toxic. And don't get any, and don't, I'm not trying to skew that it exists in our society and it is toxic. But let's now bring it to the female side. What is toxic femininity? Now, a lot of people don't even know. We're so quick to jump and say, all right, that's toxic for males. But what is toxic femininity? Now, it is viewed differently, first and foremost, as from toxic masculinity. Toxic femininity are those characteristics of femininity that leave women to be viewed as subservient, less than, or unequal to either their female counterparts or males. That is what toxic femininity is viewed as. So we're not talking from toxic femininity at the point of view of this is what is wrong with females. You see, the definition automatically jumps to why females should be given more, so to speak, or why there's a disparity, rather than tackling the issues with females. We're not tackling the attitude. We're not tackling the short tempers. We're not tackling the inability or the, how is it put, men are more logical, women are more emotional, stuff like that. We're not tackling some of those toxic femininity issues. So is it worse? Probably not. Probably not. But at the same time, it's not tackled. Toxic masculinity is tackled and addressed frequently. You see changes more in toxic masculinity, but I don't see the changes in toxic femininity, and that's my problem and issue. So I'm going to turn over to Shauna K now, and I'm going to hear what you say. I should stop smiling. So that means I should start taking what me I say. And we're gonna see what she has to say now.
Well, firstly, I was smiling because of the analogy used, right? So that's the reason why I was smiling. That's the first I'm hearing that. But I do not believe, in regards to the analogy, was that the reaction would have been that. Because honestly, if I see a male put up themselves nude, or a woman, better do the same thing. As in the same comment a man would I get, the same comment woman would I get. But I really cannot say I agree or disagree with the term. It's basically level for me, right? But I do agree with Mr. Watson to say that yes, toxic masculinity is addressed more often than toxic femininity. Well, it's not defined as well, because when we know, I think the reason being that toxic masculinity is being in the space so much and talked about is because people believe the minute a man show them emotion or so, it's toxic, and that's not true. It's not a one thing, or if you raise your voice or something that another to me. It's just this whole toughness, mental and physical toughness, the aggression and all of those things. Those are toxic, and we need to define that for real. As it relates to female toxicity, I think that the feeling of entitlement, that's the one, because you said it's not defined. I believe that what's your finger snapping? I also believe that conning, lying, all of them something there have to do with it, right? So I believe it's a level playing field. I'm not saying one is greater than the other, but it is true that we address on the male side more than we do for the female. And I will charge you men to speak about this then. If you believe that we're having toxic trait, the same way we are open to speak about our thoughts or opinions, I'm charging you all to do that too. Because if we don't know that these are the problem you guys are facing, we can't address it. So you all need to speak up just the same as how we speak up about, on a toxic trait. So yes, that's my 2 cents.
I see Roger's hand up. Would you like to say something? And then I'll go.
Yeah, man, just to comment on what Chanake said a while ago, it's not so simple for men to comment on women's toxic traits. The opinion thing, as I said before, in certain spaces, certain things men have the privilege to say they want to say. But we can tell this, it is not so easy for us as men to comment on certain behaviors that women have. That's just it.
Okay, so so far I'm pretty sure you guys can tell that I am a feminist. I am a feminist that advocates for true equality. Now, what we see out here a lot is not women that are advocating for true equality. They are advocating the fact that women are better than, which is not equality, right? It is discriminating against men. It is sexism against men, and we always hear that men are trash, and this putting down of men, and it is normalized in this society, right? And if men should say the same thing about women when women do things that are wrong, you would hear people be like, you hate women, like, why you say all that? Like, you a chop up woman, this and that. But women are allowed to say men are trash, men are this, men are that. And we are led to believe in this society that men are worse than women and that men do more bad things than women. And that's just simply not the case. Women are capable of doing bad things. Women are capable of being liars, cheaters, abusers, all these things just as men are. I believe that toxic femininity is not worse than toxic masculinity. I believe it's equal. Both of them, I just believe that people on a whole, male and female, have bad in them and have toxic behaviors, and that looks different in males and females. In women use, I believe that toxic femininity to me is women using their emotional side as a weapon. They use it to manipulate people. They use it to get what they want. They use it to, you know, to discriminate against people, and they use it for other bad things. So I believe it's an equal thing, and it's not talked about a lot, as you know, the previous panelist has said. It's not talked about, and we need to talk about it more. We need to call out our women on this, because if we always call out toxic masculinity and we don't call out toxic femininity, how are we going to grow as women? How are we going to be better for the next generation? We're just going to be like, you know what, women can do no wrong. And that's not the case. Women can be evil just as men can be evil. Women are allowed to be abusive towards men. They can hit men, they can throw things, but men cannot hit women. It's not accepted to hit women or whatever. But women can throw things at men and hit them, and it's laughed about. That is disgusting. No, it should be equally looked at as the same abuse, and not have the double standard thing. So toxic femininity is definitely there. We need to talk about it more. Men need to talk about it more. And toxic masculinity is also there. And we just need to work on ourselves as people, as men and women, and better ourselves.
Thanks, Britannia. Fabian, I know you want to get your point across, but before we do, I want to ask our giveaway question. And before we ask the question, guys, I want to thank everyone on YouTube for tuning in to us this evening. It is appreciated. So our next giveaway is courtesy of Ruffian Beard Care. And for that, the question is, which two committees are the producers of this event? And this I would have mentioned earlier in the show. So again, I will ask the question, which two committees are the producers of this event? And Fabian, I'm going to go ahead and give you a chance to, you know, because I know you're coming with something fiery because you are the fireman. So I would ask my producers on YouTube to go ahead and give us the person that has answered. And Fabian, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Carita. What was the statement again, that or the prompt again? Just want to refresh my mind.
Most definitely. Toxic femininity is worse than toxic masculinity.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Let me hurry up and comment. I'm using somebody's data due to Mona disconnect. So I'm really and truly greetings massive to the people who are in the comment section. Thank you for checking up on me, those of you that checked up on me. The problem is man and woman are the same thing in our one. Until we accept this truth and this fact, we still have to keep on and get up with big words, toxic this, toxic that, everybody toxic, both sides toxic. Yeah? The problem with it where toxicity comes in is where nobody don't want to identify that they're toxic. Lord Jesus, help me tonight, Father God. The problem with toxicity is where nobody wants to identify that they're toxic. So both sides now are pointing fingers, the pot across the kettle. The pot across the kettle, the dog across the cat. So we're in a position now where both is coming out in our relationship. I'm telling people all the time, you're in our relationship. Both of you have your flaws, but the both of them look like say a God. God, cleanest angels. And the two of them have problems, and the two of them go through things. Toxicity becomes an issue and a problem when both sides does not want to accept that them have toxic traits and toxic this and toxic that. So what them do now I start turn finger upon one another, and listen, no worse than the other. Because we are all human beings, and every human being have the potential to do the evil set of things from God earth. So there cannot be, people asking me now, is toxic the feminism and is the masculine verse and man. Technically, I say if man wickeder than woman and woman wickeder than man. Man can get wickeder than woman and woman can get wickeder than man. You don't know what's acrimony. You don't know what's obsessed. We know what lifestyle movies, we know what element. So we recognize a man can get wickeder than woman and woman can get wickeder than man. The problem is when both sides make ego stand up in the way of them solving an issue. So ego now is the major problem. And what safeguards ego is pride. Because nobody don't want to talk and nobody don't want to hear anything. So everybody's a walk up and down now, popped up with themselves like say a chicken breast. Them a walk with. You understand what I say? Because them say me come and talk up the things them tonight. So me come and talk up the things. One of this time I can find me, so me have to come and hurry up and talk and move on out of the way. Currently you're doing a good job. But me just say stills. So the problem is I don't really come to support any side. Because man can get up with a wickeder than woman. Because man can chop off woman and a woman can say to stab him in the head and kill him. You see me I say the soy sets are who does wickeder than who. You understand me? Pan the day. But the problem we're having now is ego is now allowing both sides to not fix the issues because everybody feels that they're right. Nobody don't want to listen. So yeah, me done talk with nice people. Good night.
I need to make Fabian a panelist.
Drop mic. Drop mics. Drop mic.
The discussion.
So,
That's it. That's it.
of course, Fabian did not disappoint. We do have a winner tonight, and we are here is Savannah McDonald. She answered the question correctly. It is the Faculty of Humanities and Education External Affairs Committee, the UE Mona. So congratulations, Savannah. And I'm sure that Fabian has had some of you guys rattled and shaking in your chest because I am a bit, shaking. But our next question may be a bit sensitive to some, but we just want to put it across here that these discussions, we have to have them. So the next prompt or the next statement is, there is rape culture in Jamaica. So the next prompt or statement is, there is in Jamaica. Do I have anybody in agreement to this? Shaneke, your hand is up. Go ahead.
I believe that yes, rape culture is in Jamaica. So much that we don't even realize it's there, right? And I say this because there's a lot of music that can actually contribute or suggest that there is rape culture here. And I will go ahead and, let me see if I can remember too. Yes, potential kid. Him prefer turn a BB man before he turn a raper. Who else again? What am I name with the dance? Ding dong. Galley story when Nima talk say, all right, the girl I said no, but he knows then go changing in answer. He say yes. The other one will say, oh, I forget about body if I even gun point. Like we sing and we praise all of these songs and we not even realize that yes, this is actually promoting a culture for a man to have dominance or to feel like they have some kind of entitlement to our bodies. The mere fact that men, and I say men because generally men feel okay to harass us in the street, catcalling and all these things. And when you pass and if somebody don't answer, somebody goes say, you could have wait answer or not. No, I don't feel like you should, suggest something sexually to me and I should answer. That is not nice. This is an open street, So I believe that we do have rape culture here so much that we don't even understand that we do. And we praise and we sing about these things so much in the songs and we don't even know it, that this is what it's doing, promoting or it's suggesting, these kind of advancement to women's body. That is my tips.
I have a point, but I'd like to let my female counterpart, Britannia, go first. Then I will chip in.
Okay, rape culture. Does it exist in Jamaica? What is rape culture? I don't think there is a rape culture. Culture is something that is accepted in society. Rape culture, would be the environment and society accepting and normalizing and trivializing rape. I don't think our society normalize or trivialize rape, because I do believe that us as a general society get angry. We still get angry when women are raped. What I do think is normalized and trivialized is the harassment that women face, the sexual harassment, because rape and sexual harassment is not the same thing, right? So harassment can be, a grope or catcalling, just sexually saying disrespectful things to us. That's harassment. It's not rape. I do think that is normalized and that's trivialized and it is wrong. And yeah, that's what I think there's a culture of. So I wouldn't say rape culture, but I would say sexual harassment culture and assault, because they will groping a woman is assault. So yes, I would say a sexual assault culture more than a rape culture, because I don't think that generally the society accepts and normalize rape. But I agree with Shauna K. In our music, it is influencing men to form an entitlement to our bodies, and they feel like they can do whatever they want to us. And I think there's an ignorance and lack of education, because I think this comes back around to men not having proper male figures in the home to teach them how to handle rejection, how to respect women, and what you're not supposed to do, what you should do to approach women. So there's ignorance among men, and they think that these things are okay, and some of them know what they're doing is wrong, but I think there's a general ignorance as well, and it leads back to not having a proper male figure in the home. But I don't think there's a rape culture. I think there's a sexual assault and harassment culture. Yeah.
All right, I will tackle this question now, this prompt now. I'm glad I let Britannia go first. And here is my take, right? I don't think there's a rape culture, right? As Britannia said, rape culture implies that it's normalized part of society and all them things there. So no, I don't think there's a rape culture. That is one of the things that Jamaicans we rape, child molestation, them things there. We would generally like to respond to it in one way, and we call it jungle justice. Right? I think that is how Jamaicans really have their mindset to rape and those things. So I don't think there's a rape culture. Right? We should have a lawyer on the panel, so we could have said, first and foremost, there's not even a definition of rape that is non-offensive to men, meaning that men cannot be raped by definition. By definition, men cannot be raped. And we're not even going to get into that. We're not even going to talk about that. But I agree with Britannia. There is a sexual harassment culture in Jamaica. Furthermore, this is the line. Let's tiptoe. Let's blur it. We don't know where to draw that line and say, all right, that's not acceptable. In Jamaica, we don't know that, because and it's faulted, and I think it's faulted on both sides, male and female, and that's probably an unpopular opinion. But here's why I think that. Yes, there's some lack of male role models to show you better, but there's also the female that responds and accepts these advances, and that tells a man that, all right, well, some female like this. So there is no line where we can say, all right, everybody says this is wrong. The line for us is rape, but there's no, all right, harassment line. There's no assault line. There's no them things there. We don't clearly define those things in our culture, and we don't clearly say, listen, we're not in that. We don't clearly say those things, because yes, catcalling exists. Yes, you see the taxi man them after you walk and literally pull you going on them taxi, right? Yes, you see the man out the street and they will tell you about birthday and the camel toe and all of them things, and that is harassment, right? But we don't draw a line and say, listen, this is where we're gonna call it quits. Because we don't have that line, as I say, I agree that there's a harassment culture. But rape culture, no. I think Jamaicans generally, as I say, rape, child molestation, them things that jungle justice. And we don't really like that, and we don't really agree with that. But there needs to be a line where we say, all right, this is it. And as I said, that has to be done by both men and women. That's a two-part dilemma.
Patrick, Shaquille, we'll finish with you.
Thank you. I agree with you, Britannia. And Patrick would have basically gone down the line that I'm going to go down right now. The thing is, to be honest, in agreement, I don't think there's a rape culture here. But just as what Patrick and Britannia would say, there are no lines as to where things begin. And the reality is that the end of it, if you should look at it like a walkway, the end of it would be rape. But there are some points where you could stop it before it would have gotten that far. And as a society, I think we glorify these things. I think men needs to understand that, listen, they can't call a lady, she's not interested, she's not interested. That's it. But the reality is that you have some mothers who grow their sons to think that, listen, no man, you have to try harder and you have to persist and sometimes you have to rough them up and that them like, no, I think no means no. Like no can mean no else. No is no. And then it leads to assault. You actually have females out there that glorifies when a man beat them or a man see them in public and the man they tell them say you should have done yours and the man just come and just rough them up, bad them up and send them home. No. So because we have we have young men growing up and seeing these things, and then you have the older men who commit these acts, and you have some women who actually let them feel as if it is okay, it continues. But the reality, it's not okay. And when these acts are pardoned and glorified, because the reality is, it's glorified. Artists do it, even community leaders do it sometimes. So once you glorify these acts, it is now harder for you to stop rape. Because if a man feel as if he's entitled to a woman's response, if him say, yo, nice body, she's supposed to turn on, and she's supposed to say thank you, then he's entitled to her body. So that's where it begins. So this level of entitlement is like it starts as a little breeding ground. So we have to stop these smaller, these minor infractions before we can start to target rape. Because the reality is, if you allow these to pass, then rape will always be there. The reality will always be there, but I think we can lower it if we try to target these minor infractions. So men need to get on board, and men need to tell some man, say, yo, ease yourself. You know, if you do them thing there, it not make you look cool. It not make you look cute. And women who promote these things needs to really look into it and say, at the end of the day, it's harming me. And if it not harm me, it may end up harming another woman. So we have to look for these things. But yeah, my few cents on it.
Thanks, Shaquille. So like I did a preach a while ago, but that word entitlement, I'm sure it has struck some nerve. So our last question for the evening is, or our last statement rather, men's egos makes. Go ahead, Shanaki.
I was gonna say before you move on, there were some interesting points that were added to the YouTube where I'm seeing here. Lived experiences said, let's remember that there are persons who know of rape, parents, family who say nothing at all. And when she said that, that actually struck, it just brings me back to say this whole thing that I hear about that all women know rapes, but not every man will do. And this basically tells you that there are some lines in society that men have do not have an understanding of, but women do. So I think in just clearing a set part, we say, oh, what is rape and what is not rape. For instance, a police had told me before that if a woman, or let's not say a woman, if someone say no to sex, right, and then the partner persist and they change their answer, that is still rape, because the original thought and the original thing of it was no, but they were coerced in saying yes. So Britannia had said earlier that rape culture have to do with if the whole society know about it, and I think those were interesting points, important points that were added in the YouTube chat that I think is important to add to the discussion.
All right, thank you very much, Shanaki. So for this last statement, we'll only take 2 responses, one male, one female, one who agrees and one disagrees. So the last statement is men's egos make them worse at handling rejection. So I will read that again. Men's egos makes them worse at handling rejection. One female that agree, one male that disagrees. Patrick?
If I may.
Sure, Jay, go ahead.
So
go ahead.
So I disagree with the statement. I don't think that okay, just repeat it for clarity.
Men's egos make them worse.
Jay.
at
So
handling
men's
rejection.
egos at handling rejection.
Okay, so it doesn't make them worse. While I will say a lot of men will have a bruised ego, and there's a small subset that will take it to the extreme, as to say, oh, start to say one bag of something about the woman and say, oh, we never wanted in the first place, etc., etc., etc. Yes, his ego was bruised, but to be frank, that's a very small subset from my experiences. The men that I know and the situation that I've seen have been around. The man them used to hear no and give rejection and them take it and say, well, I saw it, right? In regards to women now, that's the time broad brush, but that's what we experience. In terms of women now, I have seen a case where a friend of mine would have been approached by a young lady, rare occasion. He's been approached by a young lady, and the man said he's not interested. She asked, why? So I said, he's just not interested in you. What about me, so? About me kind of interested? Is that case here, like girls are, etc., etc., etc. And that's something that I see happening with a couple of men. Well, is that they don't understand because they're sued so much throughout the days. They don't understand when they do make to go towards somebody and express their feelings. They can hear and know. You get me? I mean, men do it all the time. Get up, work up the courage, go out there, put themselves out there, get and know. I would say, all right, rally back to money. If you find somebody else, notice, so not this one. Women have a very hard time. That is women I know have a very hard time hearing that they're not being that point of interest. So I think women's ego actually would be a bit more bruised than the male ego in this aspect. I don't know if anybody wants to disagree with what I'm saying. I think Britannia having something to say. I see her. Yeah.
So I agree that men's ego, it does let them handle rejection. What was the prompt? They handle rejection in a bad way.
Worse.
In a worse way. I think that some men I'm not going to generalize it, because what we want to prevent here is a generalization amongst all men, and that needs to stop. Okay, that needs to stop. But yes, there's a generalization that all men are like this. Some men, they can't handle rejection because they've never been taught how to, and just it's just a, some people is just an internal individual thing. They need to acknowledge and work on. Some men, they get obsessed with a woman that rejects them. Like they must win her over, and they will do anything to win her over. And I know, some of my female friends are currently in situations where they tell a guy no and they're just obsessed, and it's scary. But this is just some men. But what we want to prevent is a generalization. Some men, their ego does prevent them from just saying, okay, it's a no, it's a no. And other men, they know what to do in these situations. I know men that just leave it alone. Them not run down nobody. But yeah, we don't want to create a generalization. So I think that's the most important thing to note here. And in my personal life, I try I try my best. When a man hurts me, I try my best not to generalize it and say men are this, men are that, men can handle rejection, men are trash. I try my best not to put down men, because women sometimes they cannot handle rejection either. In some cases, they cannot. So yeah, I think that's important to know.
Thank you, Brittany, and a beautiful way to close. You acknowledge that women handle rejection not so well too. Before we close, or before we ask the last question, I want to ask our winner Savannah McDonald, to send us a DM on Instagram, and the page is army_of_good. So that's army of good. Send us a DM so that we can send you your price. Because if you don't send us a DM, I will take the price for myself. Yes. And to close, guys, we have one final giveaway that is courtesy of JT Fitness. And it's an easy question. All you have to do is to give us our list. 3 panelists. It can be 2 male, 1 female, 2 female, 1 male. Just 3 name a 3 person with it that talk up the things them tonight. While we wait on the winner to announce, guys, again, beautiful discussion. Can't say I didn't learn a thing or two. We kept it professional. So big up to yourself, big up to the panelists themselves. Shaneke, Brittany, Shaquille, Patrick, Roger. Yes, and I hand over to Dana to close.
Okay, so can everyone see me, hear me, everything good?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so Carissa actually started it off for me. I just really want to thank every single person that has, participated in this initiative. It was a really good idea that was formulated, and it was headed by Noel, who's the InReach, one of the InReach project managers for the games. I just want to also say thank you to the Faculty of Humanities and Education for partnering with us on this. As Guildmates, we always want to incorporate different faculties, different communities, to help us to just do a really good initiative. I also just want to thank the panelists. Thank you to Rodney, thank you to Patrick, thank you to Britannia, thank you to Shaquille, thank you to Shanke, thank you to our host, so thank you to Fabian for jumping on when you could. I just want to also thank and thank you to all everybody who contributed in terms of graphics or anything of the sort. So just want to say thank you everybody, and also thank you to most importantly to our sponsors as well. Thank you to Ruffian, thank you to Get Ace, thank you to JT Fitness, thank you to anybody who has contributed monetarily or just stayed here and stayed with us for the just stayed here. And you guys really made this initiative really worthwhile, and I really appreciate everybody just, okay, right. So just want to appreciate everybody who just stayed, all the viewers. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for just listening in. Thank you for adding into the conversation. I will really hope that we can do an initiative like this. We want to do something similar to this for the Women's Day. So right. So just want to say thank you to everybody once again, and just want to announce the winner. It was Davario. So Davario, you can, message the Army of Good. That's the Guild EAC. So the Army of Good on Instagram, and we'll have your prize ready. So thank you to everybody once again, and that is it for Gender Talks Men in the Middle.